Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to Talking Planning, and today we're going to combine my love for three different topics: aviation, planning, and metaphors into one video. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this illustrated Talking Planning video.
Let's travel back to the 1960s, after America and the Soviets decided that rather than trying to destroy the world with nuclear missiles, because that was a bad idea, they decided to flex their muscles by building ever more advanced aircraft instead. Enter the Supersonic Transport race of the mid-60s. There were also several key contenders: America's Boeing 2707, which was cancelled, the Lockheed L2000, which was also cancelled, the joint UK-Europe developed Concorde, and the Soviet-developed Tu-144. Not wanting to be outdone by the West, the USSR rushed the development of the Tu-144 to ensure that they beat Concorde. Whilst the Soviets could actually claim the first supersonic airliner flight, it came at a big cost. The Tu-144 had an atrocious safety record, undertook just 55 scheduled flights, and carried just 3,194 passengers. The Concorde, however, enjoyed relative operational success, flying extremely wealthy business people along key routes at twice the speed of sound until 2003, with just one fatal accident. In the 1960s, no one knew what the future of aviation would hold. As Boeing tried to recoup some crippling losses by cancelling the 2707, a bright spark at Pan Am, One Trip, decided that a double-decker airliner with unprecedented seating capacity was the way forward for his company. Enter the Boeing 747, and from then on, two schools of thought emerged: supersonic airliners and large subsonic planes. Many were convinced that the 747 was only a temporary idea and that supersonic transport would still prevail. You may wonder where planning actually comes into this, but bear with me, it's just about there. By the 1980s though, travel preferences were clear. The 747 was winning, and further, it inspired the Airbus A380, which was even bigger and even more grand, but perhaps not quite as graceful. So you're probably left wondering, how is aviation a metaphor for planning? Here's the thing: Concorde had cachet. It looks so special on the outside, but if you've ever had the fortune to talk to someone who flew on Concorde, they'll have told you something interesting. It was surprisingly cramped, and the fares to fly Concorde were absolutely astronomical. Sure, it was a very special plane, but perhaps not as luxurious and special as one would expect for the price. If you were to take all of those attributes and apply them into a development, you'd wind up with an inner-city luxury skyscraper. In the photos, it's super sleek and impressive looking, and those glossy brochures show you into this perfect world. But, at the end of the day, the purchase prices are absolutely off the charts, you still have to leave your apartment to do anything, and you've still got to enter into the rat race anyway. And further, once the lift breaks, and it will, you have to still get out of your apartment, climbing up dozens or even hundreds of flights of stairs to reach your apartment. Sure, skyscrapers might suit some people's lifestyles, but I wouldn't call it balanced. But I would say that these buildings are really the Concordes of property development. On the other hand, the Boeing 747 and Airbus A380 offer tons of space and carry hundreds of people. In the photos, you really can't appreciate their true size, how many people they can carry, and how many crew members are involved in their operation. But at the end of the day, most of you are still going to be stuck in a basic economy class seat, unhappy about a delayed connection and that crap airline food. So if you were to compare the 747 and the A380 to a type of building, it would be the suburb. Master planned communities offer comfort and familiarity, which is attracting people to live there. But at the end of the day, it still takes a long time to drive to the grocery store once you've run out of milk. You still have people parking across your driveway, and your tiny backyard means that you end up taking the kids to the local park, which is 2k's down the road. It turns out that most of the time, suburbs are actually really annoying, but you just put up with it anyway. I'd call the suburbs the jumbos of property development. In the same way that the 747 and A380 won over the hearts and minds of travellers, the suburb did as well. In the name of efficiency, airlines are phasing out four-engine behemoths in favour of smaller and lighter twin-engine aircraft, offering excellent range, low cost per seat mile, and flexibility to serve new markets. But property developers and planning schemes don't share the same enthusiasm to phase out sprawling suburbs in favour of walkable, flexible development patterns that better suit our lifestyles. Airlines gravitated to long-range and smaller airliners like the 787 Dreamliner, the Airbus A350, A321neo and the A321XLR, which provide great opportunities to connect city pairs that otherwise would never be viable. Planes like this make proposed services like Sunshine Coast and Singapore possible in the future, which is something that big airliners like the 747 and A380 cannot do economically. If you like, these new aircraft represent the missing middle, slotting in between small short-haul airliners and large four-engine planes with awkward operating economics. When planners talk about the missing middle, we're referring to development typology that slots in between the single-family dwelling and high-density residential. Australian and North American cities are notoriously bad at the missing middle, with very little scope in between suburbia and skyscraper. Truly livable cities tend to have few suburbs or skyscrapers, instead creating spaces that are easy to navigate on foot, by bicycle or public transport. Instead of driving out of your way to get groceries, they're often a short walk away. Parking across your driveway is less of a problem because you probably won't need your car all that often, and because the park is probably nearby, it's a short walk away as a whole family. In the last 10 years, airlines have gone from relying on the 747 into medium-sized and efficient airliners, but our housing typology has barely changed. Despite being one of the most volatile and expensive industries globally, aviation is fast to adapt and flexible, yet housing policy, which affects absolutely everyone, is slow to move and inflexible. Australian housing has been dominated by low-density suburbs and high-density towers, yet the political and social will suggest that that divide needs to be widened, not narrowed. Instead of promoting walkable neighbourhoods, 2 to 3 storey properties and mixed-use residential, political will and developers tend to promote single-family housing in large suburbs or very tall residential towers. Instead of high-quality communal green space, people expect to have a private backyard, even if it's absolutely tiny and barely used. People lament the demise of acreage living, but still want to be close to shops and facilities. My goal is to be part of the transformation that gives planning the same forward-thinking and flexible reputation that propelled aviation. Because cake doesn't make you thin, we need to teach people how to compromise, to create better spaces for people to live.
Oh, sorry, did the illustrations run out? I better get back to my job, actually. Well, I'd like to say thank you for joining me so far on Talking Planning. One of the big things that I hope this video has helped you to understand is that there is a missing middle in housing, and aviation provides a little bit of a summary at how to deal with these challenges. I think aviation is a very pragmatic and proactive industry, and I'd like to say that planning needs to start to follow in those footsteps of being able to be flexible, pragmatic and adaptable. And I think there's lots of opportunity to do it, because as far as I'm concerned, good housing is not just about having the shiniest, tallest skyscraper or a short, widespread housing estate with lots of parking. Good housing is about balance and getting those things right. So I hope this video has helped you to make up a bit of your own mind about what you truly value in housing and development. And I'd like to say thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon. But before I go, if you haven't already, I'd love if you could press that thumbs up, like this video, subscribe, and share to any of your planning and development friends, or anyone else who's looking at buying a housing estate or a big tall tower, before they make up their mind. I'll see you next time.